David, how about you? Back. You do? What is it?
You said something before about getting to the end of your life and realizing, well, this is all worthless, or considering getting into a new relationship and saying, well, I know how it'll end, so it's worthless. But, you know, what would make something worth it? What makes it worthless as opposed to something that?
Hello, Bridget. David, that's a really, really good question. That if for the past 10 weeks I have said that upon reflection and examination, what Socrates had said some 3,000 years ago almost, that the unexamined life is not worth living, your question kind of turns that upside down, which is the examined life worth living? And that's basically what we've talked about in this class for the past few weeks. What really stands up, to the test of reflection? And your question is, well, if ultimately everything turns into ash, everything becomes meaningless, is there anything out there that's worth pursuing? Where when time passes, you look back, you say, yes, I have done a great job. Right? To some extent. Is that your question?
Sure. I don't know why a relationship wouldn't be worth it just because it's going to end, but I'm curious what makes something seem worth it.
It's something we talked about some weeks ago, I think, in this class. Go back all the way to the story of Adam and Eve in the Old Testament, the Jewish tradition. The Old Testament, of course, has about almost, I think, 37 books that took 1,000 years to come together. I mean, history has done a lot of kind of creative things for this book to come together. And I don't know if, Genesis is an original piece of literature, because Sumerians had it, Egyptians had it way before, the Old Testament authors. But all that aside, you have Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. I mean, it's the ultimate place of perfection. You have never experienced pain. You have never experienced discontent. You have never experienced dissatisfaction. You don't really know what punishment is. You don't even have desires. There are no struggles. It's Garden of Eden. But it seems that even God, perhaps, in Genesis, is unaware as to how He made human beings, if you want to take the story literally, of course. And there are symbolic layers to the story, but we won't go into them now. All of a sudden, the serpent appears. Now, someone had to kind of open the gate to let the serpent in, and the problem with monotheistic traditions is that God is all-knowing. God is everywhere. God is all-powerful. How the serpent gets in, I don't really know. And then the serpent goes to the woman, Eve, and says, there's that tree over there. So the serpent becomes the first entity that introduces desires. It's a huge thing. Because the moment you have a desire, you become discontent. It doesn't have to be a desire for a thing like a cell phone or a bicycle. It could also be a desire to know. I mean, imagine you have a companion and you love them. You've never had the desire to ask why. And all of a sudden, for some strange reason, you become infected and you ask, why do I love them? And the problem with you asking why you love them is like you're pushing yourself outside of this comfort zone, this paradise. And you begin to examine why you love them. What parts of them do you love? What parts of you has fallen in love with this person, and what parts of this person. And God forbid if you end up in therapy, because now you can't but doubt every decision you make, because you can't trust yourself. I mean, just imagine you have this acres of paradise. You can go anywhere. You can do whatever. God will never, ever, ever punish you. God will never make you feel bad. You will never have to look for a fig leaf to cover yourself because you've shamed yourself and God and all that. But the moment the serpent comes and says, you know this tree, it has a fruit, look at it. I mean, when you look at a fruit of this particular tree, what you're saying is, I'm going to overlook all the other things that exist here. I mean, when you look at your companion, you say, why do I love him? Why? You're saying, I don't care if he pays the rent. I don't care if he pays utility. I don't care if he's a good father. I don't care if he's good to his mom or to his dad. I don't care if he's good looking. I mean, you're kind of overlooking all these wonderful things about this man. And you're kind of lasering on this one thing. Why do I love him? And in essence, you're saying, being a good father means nothing to me, perhaps. Being a good husband perhaps means nothing. Having a house, a paycheck, all that stuff means nothing. I want to know why I love him. Have you ever sat back and examined how you were bitten by this serpent, when it came about, how it came about? What allowed you to kind of allow the serpent to get close to you? We're getting to your question, but very, very slowly. Because every question has a history. And people don't usually ask questions, because it takes a while. You have to go through various experiences, certain events need to happen, unfold, until you get to a place where you ask. That's 2 weeks and 1 day of sobriety. 2 days. That's 14.
2 days.
And so the serpent doesn't inspire Adam. The serpent goes directly to the woman. And that in itself is a big thing. Remember on Tuesday we had talked about how women make great students, where men really suck at being good students, where men become really, really good teachers of wisdom, whereas women become really good at experiencing wisdom, but never being able to scientifically, put wisdom on paper. So when you look at, for example, the Old Testament, the New Testament, the Quran, all these different cultures, you have male figures who ultimately become prophets and containers of wisdom. Women basically live it out. They don't really have the desire to express it, unless they happen to just be very unique in a very special place in life, both inwardly and outwardly. So the serpent knows really, really well that men don't really have the capacity to listen well, to understand well. So the serpent goes directly to Eve, the female. And the Eve gets tempted. Eve gets tempted in the story. So for those of you women who are trying to knock some sense into your man, it's not going to work. Unless you find him to be in a very feminine space. That someone very close to him has passed, or maybe he happens to be in a very sensitive, open mood, and then you can kind of talk to him and maybe he'll receive what you have to tell him. Okay? Otherwise, it's like banging your head against concrete. It's just not going to work. Now, what is it that Eve does once she gets tempted? She talks to Adam, the physical body, the masculine, the one who can be engaged, the active, not the feminine passive, but the active masculine. And what does this tree have? Fruit. What is this fruit symbolically? Once you take a bite, you have the wisdom of good and right inside you. Why do you want to know? Why do you want to know anything, David? Because something about you has been infected, bitten by the serpent. You want to know. And you know what happens when you do know? You become all-knowing like gold. 2 plus 2 is the same in America as it is in Mexico or Africa. When it comes to 2 plus 2, you're all-knowing. Every time you become infected by curiosity, and it's sincere and honest, you're competing with God. You want to know. And once you know, I mean, you never go back to your first grade teacher saying, can you tell me what 2 plus 2 is? You just know it. Unless you suffer from dementia, you will never forget 2 plus 2 equaling 4. Once you know how desires come about, that makes you a goal. Once you know why you have these desires, and once you kind of make this journey to bring these desires into fruition, to touch them, taste them, to have them in your hand, once you reach satisfaction, and once you realize what satisfaction will do to you, you become like gold. It doesn't matter whether you're pursuing, attaining or getting weed, money, degrees, a woman, a man, a car. None of those things matter. Because whatever it is that you want begins with desire. And to bring any desire to satisfaction, you need to make a journey. Struggle. You need to be a politician. And then you will get what you desire, hopefully. And what's going to happen once you play with the desire a little bit? Once you're satisfied? You become bored. What happens when you become bored? Well, it's a painful place to be. Because then you sit back and you say, really? I went through 10 years of schooling and I have a master's degree and I feel empty. And if you study that very, 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 very carefully, you ask yourself, what are these people running after? Don't they know that they're going to Pete's Coffee because of a desire? Okay. That they're going to wait in line for about 5 hours. They're going to wait another 5 hours to get their mocha. Then they've ordered a large mocha because they have coveted and they are greedy. Okay. They can only drink half of it. And what happens when their desire for mocha has been satisfied? They're going to kind of look at this cup. They're going to thrash it perhaps. They'll probably have diarrhea or stomachache. They are not going to feel that great after drinking half a cup of mocha. And they're going to sit somewhere, and then another desire is going to come up. Another journey is going to be taken. They're going to be satisfied, and they're going to sit there bored, saying to themselves, what should I do now? So if you have access, David, to how desires are created, why people pursue them, what happens to them when they have them, no human being will ever become a mystery to you. Your own actions will no longer be mysterious to you. You can actually predict your future. Whatever you touch will eventually turn into dust. You will be dissatisfied. And then you get to your question. Well, if that's the case, what is worth pursuing? When my son was very, 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 very young, David, every time he would come home from school, he would say, Target. I said, why? Target. I took you there yesterday. Target. Why did he go to Target? Not because he likes books, he likes toys. And you know what he does with the toys? We buy the toy, we bring it in to the house. He violently takes it out of the box. And by the time it's out of the box, half of the toy is broken. Right? He looks at it, puts it in its mouth, okay, breaks the arms and the legs and the wheels. 10 minutes later, he says, take me to the park. I took you to Target. Just entertain yourself with this toy for another like 5 minutes, please. And he brings a toy. It's in 1,000 pieces. It's useless. Then the next day comes, Target. For what? Target. And you know, kids are not like adults. They are relentless. Unless you smack them, they will keep telling you, Target, Target, Target. And you don't take your kid to Target for the second time, you know, in like 10 minutes because you love your son. You don't know what else to do. You either have to shoot him or shoot yourself. So you drive back to Target. You buy him another toy. And he says, can I hold the toy while I'm in my car? I said, yes. Just don't talk to me. So while in the car, you hear all this noise in the background, you know? By the time you come home, the toy is destroyed. Then he's jumping on the sofa. Please, just sit. And you realize something really interesting. What's worth pursuing in life is not the ultimate place, which is satisfaction. Is you have a desire, then you go on this journey. You don't ever, ever, ever want to be satisfied. That's the most awful, disastrous, criminal thing you could ever, ever, ever do to yourself. Look. David, I look at you and I see you right here. Well, let me do it horizontally. This is where you are, David. Okay? You know, we call this a flatliner. You are dead. It's 9 a.m. You look exhausted. There is nothing interesting for you in this classroom, not even our conversation. You're just trying to be respectful and nice and decent and dignified. You're looking at me pretending that you're paying attention and this is exciting when in fact it's not. Okay? But this is a flatliner. This is where you are. It is painful. You are bored. It's early in the morning. It's a ridiculous philosophy class. You are bored. And you keep looking at that clock. It's 9:30. It's 9:30 and 1 second. 9:30 and 2 seconds. Right? I mean, talk about living in hell, man. This is your hell. You don't have to wait till you die. I'm giving it to you as a free gift. Okay? Now, this is where you are. Your heart is not beating. The 100 billion neurons you have in your tiny little head that are there to think, they are disengaged. Which makes your life profoundly interesting. Okay? All of a sudden I say, David, you are so stupid. Forgive me. All of a sudden there is a pulse. Did he just insult me? disrespect me? Doesn't he know I am an American? I have rights? I can go and complain? Huh? You have a pulse, David. Who brought you to life? It's not Jesus Christ. It's me, David. Huh? Who's your savior? It's me. Who took you out of pain and boredom? David, who is it? It's me. You owe me your life. Huh? As I keep harassing you, and remember, now that you have pain, you have a pulse, you say, why is he doing this to me? As I keep pushing and pushing and pushing, the pulses go higher and higher and higher. Your desire to know. Okay? This pulse is true for almost anything under the sun. You're here in a coffee shop reading your good book. Let's say the Gospel according to John, since you go to church and all that stuff, right? I mean, it's really not that interesting. You have no idea what the book is saying, but you've been kind of groomed in that tradition. All right? All of a sudden, as you're sitting drinking your coffee, someone walks in. Long, silky brown hair, big blue eyes like a cow. Huh? And they look really, really fine, whatever that may be in your world. All of a sudden you come to life. You crucify Jesus in the Gospel of John and say, Jesus, buddy, I like you, but you need to be put on pause for now. You pursue your new Messiah. Now you have a pulse. Your eyes create desires, man. Now she does the most criminal thing to you. She looks at you and she gives you a wink. Now you actually assume that she's winking at you. The truth is she has Tourette's. But you mistake that for her liking you. Paula, are you enjoying this? I am really, really sorry for this narrative, but it's actually fun, Should I stop?
No.
David, this is your story, man. So the more she winks, the more you come to life, and the less interesting the Gospel of John. Okay, if in the Gospel of John you read, for example, that don't store your treasures down here because they'll be stolen, they'll be robbed. Okay? You're investing, putting your emotions and your desires into this woman that you just saw 2 minutes ago. That's a lot of investment. And it's just a matter of time before it gets stolen. So, lo and behold, she comes and sits next to you. Okay, you're right here now. What you need to understand, David, is this. All mountains, everything has a certain height, a tip, beyond which you can go no more. Okay? All human beings, everything you do in life, gives you a certain elevation. Once you get to the top, there is no more place to go. You journey from here all the way to here. It may take you one day. It may take you 10 years. And if you're persistent, okay, if you don't give up, if you can summon up the inspiration, which will eventually create the strong will inside you, you will drag your sorry little behind all the way to the top of this mountain. Once you're on the top, you have something you never had before. You stand here, the little David that you are, and you look down. Now, initially, it's profoundly enjoyable. Then you come to realize the insignificance, the smallness of everything that lives down here. Here's the thing. You're not going to stand or sit or live on top of this mountain for too long. Eventually you have to go down. Why do you go down? There is nothing to look at anymore. There is nothing to enjoy anymore. There is nothing to be excited about anymore. That you did. You had the excitement. You had the struggle. You had the meaning. And you enjoyed these inspirational winning moments by saying, I was down here, now I am here. I look down. It's beautiful. You may even come down and write a book about it. But there comes a point that you will walk down from this mountaintop. Okay? And why do you again come down? There is nothing that the mountaintop can give you anymore. That is basically the summation of everything that we do in life. And then the question that you're asking, is it really worth getting up to here? Well, yeah, it's wrong for you to get to the mountaintop. Because once you get to the very tip, there's nothing else to be had. My recommendation would be this. Instead of going up this mountain that's 2 feet tall, find a mountain that's about 2,000 feet tall. Why? You're down here, okay? This will take you a day. Once you reach, boredom sets in and you climb back down. If on the other hand you have something that's 2,000 feet tall, it's going to take you about 10 years to get up there. This expires in a day. This expires in 10 years. This allows you to have 10 years of meaning and purpose and identity. This only gives you 1 day's identity. Here, boredom will have to wait for 10 years to show its face. Here, boredom will visit you after the day's over. Okay? Now, the mountaintop doesn't need to be about getting a job or going to school, because the most important thing that you'll ever do in life, at least, well, not the most important, but there are these branches that we walk into. First, at a certain point, you need to find yourself a companion. If you have a companion who has no real depth, okay, they are contaminated with a good amount of toxins in life. Well, let's just say they're relatively clean, but they have no real depth. They will keep you interesting. They will keep you interested in them for about maybe 1 year, if you are lucky. These days, it's no more than maybe, 4 months. Okay? Now, you may make a wrong decision because they have been good to you for 4 months and things are exciting, and you haven't reached the tip of this hill. You may say, marry me. Be the father or the mother of my children. You don't want to do that. Understand the depth of the person first before you engage. Okay? So, if you marry someone or are with someone whose depth is about 2 feet long, there's a good chance that once you get to the tip and boredom sets in, it's going to be damage control for a long, long, long time. If you get involved with someone who has a good amount of depth, and these are usually heroes that you and I worship in life, whether it's Spider-Man or Superman or Jesus Christ or Malcolm X or Angela Davis, none of those things matter. But the point is they have depth, which means that you have to climbing up. And it's much better to realize after maybe 20 years that maybe Malcolm X doesn't really have much else to offer you. Then you climb back down. But when you climb back down from, climbing to Malcolm X, climbing upwards, you come down as a different human being. The depth that lived inside Malcolm now lives inside you. So the destination is never important, even though most of us kind of pursue things in life because, well, the outcome is important, and rightly so. And why do you go to school? It's not fun journeying from your house to G266. The hell is that? You can't drive and think, oh, yeah. Forget that the class is boring. It's the journey that's important. You know, you don't really want to be like these new age teachers or gurus on YouTube. Yeah, don't forget, you know, it's a journey. Forget the destination. In some ways, it's quite accurate. And I think it's good for you to be on the right journey. So the negative emotions that any journey creates are not going to kind of overtake and consume all of you. You know, I'd rather be with someone like, I don't know, Jesus or Malcolm or Socrates. They're going to create a lot of difficult emotions inside me, but they make me a better human being. When I'm with someone who gets drunk or high all the time, I also have a lot of negative emotions, but eventually it makes me angry and frustrated and hateful. Is it? No? So what's worth pursuing? Pursue things that have depth. My brother, God rest his soul, I talked to him this morning. He bought himself a Tesla. In fact, called him. But he bought himself a Tesla. But the waiting list is a bit long, so he has to wait till October. He was promised that the car will be given to him in February last month. But now he has to wait another 6-7 months. It's beautiful. Because he's not going to get saturated by driving the Tesla. He came to visit me on Sunday, you know, and he rented the Tesla just to see if it's something he actually wants to do. He says, man, I just put it on self-drive, just place my hands like this around the wheel, steering wheel, it just drove on its own. I was snoring left and right. But he has to wait another 6 months before getting the car. Imagine if he had the car in February. In March, it's finished. He would probably call me and say, Amir, you know, I spent $60,000 buying a car. And it's the same like my Avalon. It's the same car as my Honda Element. Cars are cars. Eventually, you forget that you're sitting in a Rolls Royce. It's the destination that becomes important. I'm driving here from home to Safeway. That sucks. Whether it's a jet, a Ferrari, or a donkey. Safeway. Always choose something that's exciting and has depth. Eventually, you'll be sad once you reach the destination. Am I making sense?